She started to suspect that the pregnancy milk she drank every night might be the culprit. Maybe there was something in it that didn't agree with her body. So one evening, Rosa, the housekeeper she trusted like a sister, brought her the milk as usual before bed. But this time, Lucia didn't drink it. She left the glass untouched on the bedside table. Hello, and welcome back to our channel. Today, we're diving into another chilling real-life story that will leave you speechless. This time, our journey takes us to the city of Battambang, Cambodia, a place where one family's trust was shattered in the most heartbreaking way. This is the story of a family who opened their hearts and home to a woman they treated like one of their own. They trusted her, cared for her, and even saw her as more than just an employee. But behind their kindness, this woman did something unthinkable, something that would leave scars they'd never forget. What exactly happened? How did this betrayal unfold? Stick with us as we uncover the full story and explore the shocking truth behind this case. Let's dive in. Let me tell you about Andreas, a big-hearted guy with an even bigger presence. Born in 1973, he grew up in Banan, where he worked for an automotive company. In 1999, Andreas married his first wife, and life seemed pretty great. He was known for being incredibly friendly and always willing to help others. His wife used to joke, "He's built like a giant, but his heart is softer than snow." In 2001, their happiness grew when their son, Emilio, was born. Life was good, but it all changed in 2008 when Andreas's wife tragically passed away from cancer. Left with just his son, Andreas stepped up and raised Emilio on his own. As the years went by, Andreas tried to move on. He remarried twice, once in 2012 and again in 2014. Unfortunately, both marriages ended after just a year. The reasons? Well, people had plenty to say. Some claimed Andreas was too rough with his wives, while others thought the women were only after his money. Whatever the truth, neither marriage worked out. Then in 2017, things took a turn when one of Andreas's company directors introduced him to Lucia, a 37-year-old woman who had also been through a failed marriage. Andreas, 44 at the time, immediately clicked with her. They spent nearly a year getting to know each other before deciding to tie the knot. Lucia was a successful businesswoman, dealing in luxury bags and jewelry. She also owned a spacious house in Battambang City. In 2019, Andreas requested a job transfer to be closer to her, and the couple, along with Emilio, moved into her big house. It wasn't that Andreas couldn't afford a new home. Lucia just didn't see the point of leaving her parents' house empty. Andreas didn't mind, and their arrangement seemed to work out perfectly. To everyone's delight, Emilio got along well with his stepmom, something Andreas had really hoped for. Now, let's talk about Emilio for a moment. He's a quiet, calm young man who grew up independent. Losing his mom early and having a dad who worked long hours taught him how to handle things on his own. Despite his family's wealth, he wasn't spoiled or flashy. Instead, he stayed grounded and focused. He attended Chef Academy back in Banan, and after moving to Battambang, he continued sharpening his skills at a private culinary school. Eventually, he landed an internship at a hotel restaurant. Life had its challenges, but Emilio handled them with maturity and grace. Meanwhile, Andreas and Lucia's marriage was going well, except for one thing. Lucia deeply wanted a child of her own. Andreas didn't seem too concerned, maybe because he already had Emilio, who was now 19, but for Lucia, it was a big deal. The couple visited a doctor, who told them Lucia was fertile but needed to slow down. She was advised to rest more, cut back on work stress, and reduce her drinking if she wanted to improve her chances of conceiving. Taking the doctor's advice seriously, Lucia decided to step back from her business in June 2020. She handed over all operations to her trusted employees and started spending more time relaxing, doing yoga, and focusing on herself. Still, being home alone while Andreas was at work left her feeling lonely. So, she invited Rosa, one of her most reliable employees, to stay with them. Rosa, 29, had been working with Lucia for over 4 years and was practically like a sister. They shared everything: secrets, laughs, and even financial details. With Andreas's blessing, Rosa moved into the mansion, adding a new dynamic to their home. Life seemed to be going smoothly for Lucia. She was finally able to relax and enjoy her days without the constant stress of work. Having Rosa around made everything better. Rosa was not only a good listener but also a great help. She got along well with Andreas and Emilio, and she'd often lend a hand with cooking and cleaning. Since Rosa wasn't married, she spent most of her time with Lucia, practically 24/7. The effort seemed to pay off. By the end of August 2020, Lucia received the best news of her life. The doctor confirmed she was 8 weeks pregnant. She was overjoyed and incredibly grateful to Rosa, who had been there for her every step of the way, even monitoring her diet to ensure she only ate what was safe for her and the baby. On top of that, Lucia was finally sleeping well, something she hadn't done in years due to her previously hectic lifestyle. But with her newfound restfulness came a downside. She was so tired that she barely stayed awake in the evenings to greet Andreas or Emilio when they came home. Rosa had taken over that role, welcoming them both while Lucia rested. Then, in early September 2020, something strange happened. Lucia began experiencing severe dizziness. At first, she thought it was nothing, but when it didn't go away, she decided to visit the doctor. Rosa, who was usually by her side, was noticeably absent. Lucia assumed Rosa must have been out meeting friends, or maybe even a boyfriend, though she wasn't sure if Rosa had one. Being cautious, as this was her first pregnancy, Lucia went to the doctor alone. She was the type to check in with the doctor for even minor things, dizziness, nausea, you name it, because she wanted to make sure both she and her baby were healthy. During the appointment, the doctor gave her surprising news. The dizziness might be linked to sleeping pills. He warned her to stop taking them, as they could harm her baby and might even be causing her symptoms. This shocked Lucia. She hadn't taken sleeping pills in over a month. When she explained this to the doctor, he seemed equally confused. To investigate further, the nurses ran a urine test and some additional procedures. The results confirmed it. There were traces of sleeping pills in her system. "I've only been taking vitamins," she told the doctor, "and not even that often." The doctor suggested she return in 3 days for another test to see if the levels decreased. Back at home, Lucia couldn't shake the mystery. She searched her bedroom thoroughly, looking for any sign of sleeping pills she might have accidentally taken, but she found nothing. Then she thought about the milk she drank every night before bed. Rosa always prepared it for her, and it was the one consistent thing in her nighttime routine. That night, when Rosa brought the milk as usual, Lucia left it untouched on the bedside table. Andreas noticed and asked why she wasn't drinking it. She brushed it off, saying she just didn't feel like it. To her surprise, she couldn't fall asleep all night. By morning, a disturbing thought crept into her mind. Could the milk have been tampered with? Was someone adding sleeping pills to it? The suspicion rattled her. Could it be her husband, Andreas? Or was it Rosa, the woman she trusted like a sister? But why would either of them do such a thing? On September 5, 2020, Lucia learned from her assistant that Emilio hadn't been home for 2 days. This was unusual because her stepson was always punctual and responsible. Feeling a little concerned, she wanted to call him but hesitated, thinking he might be busy at work. Instead, she sent him a WhatsApp message asking where he was. An hour later, he replied, "Is Auntie Rosa home?" Confused, Lucia responded, "No, she's not. Maybe she's out with a friend." Then came another message from Emilio that made her heart skip a beat. "Just find Aunt Rosa, Mom. Who knows, she might be with Dad." The message left her stunned and filled with questions. What was happening in her house? Why had she been so unaware of everything while she'd been focused on resting? Determined to figure it out, she grabbed her car keys and headed straight to her husband's office at 4 p.m. When she got there, a staff member informed her that Andreas had left earlier for a meeting with a client at a hotel around 3 p.m. Her suspicions grew stronger. She immediately called Emilio and asked him to meet her at the hotel. She didn't want to face whatever was happening alone, but she also didn't want to involve anyone outside the family. When they arrived, they went to the reception desk and asked if there was a guest named Andreas staying at the hotel. The receptionist confirmed there was a guest by that name, along with his wife. However, they refused to disclose the room number or let anyone go upstairs. Desperate for answers, Lucia showed the receptionist a photo of Rosa on her phone and asked, "Is this the woman with Mr. Andreas?" The receptionist hesitated but ultimately said they couldn't be sure, as they hadn't paid much attention to the guests' faces. Frustrated, Lucia and Emilio decided to wait in the basement parking lot, keeping an eye on Andreas's car. Hours passed, and at around 9 p.m., they finally saw Andreas and Rosa step out of the elevator and head toward the car. That was the moment Lucia snapped. She rushed toward them, screaming, and immediately attacked Rosa. She grabbed her by the hair and yanked it as hard as she could, all while shouting accusations. Andreas tried to break up the fight, but Lucia wouldn't stop. Meanwhile, Emilio just stood there watching. Maybe he was too shocked, or maybe he'd grown tired of the drama between his father and aunt, while his stepmother spent most of her time sleeping, oblivious to everything. Eventually, Andreas managed to separate the two women. He told Rosa to take a taxi home while he ushered Lucia into his car. Emilio, clearly fed up, called a friend to help him take his own car home and ended up driving his stepmother's car instead. For the next few days, Rosa didn't return to the house or show up at work. Andreas, taking responsibility for the chaos, took a week off to stay home and patch things up with his wife. Then, on September 11, 2020, everything took a dark and unexpected turn. The police contacted Lucia, identifying her as Rosa's sister, at least on paper. They informed her that Rosa had been found dead at Battambang City General Hospital, with 2 gunshot wounds to the head. The news was devastating. And to make things even more shocking, the police had already arrested a suspect, a woman named Catherine. Meanwhile, according to information from the police, Catherine confessed that she had been holding a grudge against Rosa for the past 2 months. The surprising part: the 2 women didn't even know each other personally. Catherine, however, had been secretly dating Andreas for 6 months before Rosa came into the picture. When Rosa showed up, Andreas turned his back on Catherine, leaving her feeling betrayed and furious. Her anger boiled over, and she confronted Rosa directly. Security footage from a hotel even caught them arguing and getting physical in the lobby on more than one occasion. After the tragic incident, Andreas and his wife, Lucia, refused to speak to journalists and avoided the media entirely. They only answered the necessary questions from the police, claiming it was to protect Andreas's reputation and ensure his job wasn't affected. Catherine reportedly tried to contact the couple several times, but they refused to meet with her. The drama caused a major rift in the family. Emilio, disgusted by his father's behavior, decided to leave home. He told the police and reporters about the confrontation between Rosa and his father at the hotel. After that, he vanished without a trace. His phone was turned off, and neither of his parents could reach him. Desperate, they turned to TV and online platforms, pleading for him to return home or at least contact them. On December 12, 2020, the trial at Battambang City High Court reached its conclusion. The judge found 23-year-old Catherine guilty of first-degree murder, ruling that she had intentionally and premeditatedly taken the life of 29-year-old Rosa. She was sentenced to life in prison, with the possibility of parole after serving a minimum of 20 years. In court, Catherine admitted to loving Andreas and claimed he had promised to marry her. But as the trial unfolded, it became clear that it had all been a lie. The verdict sparked public outrage. Demonstrators, especially women, demanded Andreas be held accountable, accusing him of manipulating both women and being the root cause of the tragedy. While Andreas avoided legal consequences, his personal and professional life fell apart. The scandal enraged his company, and he was fired from his job. His wife, Lucia, filed for divorce while 6 months pregnant, despite Andreas pleading with her to reconsider. Determined to move on, she not only left him but also kicked him out of her house. Andreas returned to Banan, where he continued searching for Emilio, who hadn't been seen since. As for Lucia, she focused on rebuilding her life. She resumed her luxury bag and jewelry business and wanted nothing more than to move forward without the weight of her past dragging her down. Although she briefly considered taking legal action against Andreas over the sleeping pills that had been found in her milk, she ultimately decided it wasn't worth the stress. Her assistant had discovered sleeping pills hidden in Rosa's room, which led Lucia to suspect a conspiracy between Rosa and Andreas. But in the end, she chose to let it go, saying she was done with legal battles and just wanted to focus on her baby. We can only hope that Emilio is safe wherever he is, and that Lucia finds the peace and happiness she deserves as she starts this new chapter of her life. What lessons can we learn from this story?